Welcome people to the first installment of many in my series of how to modify a snowmobile on the cheap. Now if you have a nice snowmobile, which I do not, I would shy away from this video, but I will be covering some important things on snowmobile modifications and what you can do to make your snowmobile better for certain situations. I suppose in that sense, this video is going to be fairly useful. The other sense is that I won't be actually doing anything very expensive. So if you're looking for a video where somebody puts an easy ride suspension in an Enticer 340, the sled that I have, you're kind of looking for the wrong video. I'm going to be doing more along the lines of things that you can do for very cheap that will definitely help your sled's performance in the case that you have something old or something you found in the barn, something that you don't necessarily really care too much about, but you want it to perform pretty good. In this video series, I'm going to be modifying this snowmobile to perform like a mountain sled. Well, obviously I'm not going to get anywhere near a mountain sled, but I can show you certain things you can do to either make rider comfort a little bit better or even just performance in deep snow. Focusing mainly on deep snow performance because that's what I like to ride, and I like to ride in deep snow. I like boondocking. I like making my own path. I don't really like riding the trails. I don't really have a trail pass or whatever. I don't have a trail sled, so it's no use to me having a trail modified sled. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So let's start with looking at the snowmobile that we're going to be starting off with. And remember, you don't have to do it with this snowmobile in particular. You can do it with any snowmobile. Most of these will apply to any snowmobile. If it doesn't, I'll make certain that I take a note of it. Alright, so as you may or may not know, this sled is an Enticer 340 Trapper. It's got a long track. I guess not long track in today's standards, but in that year, this would be considered a long track. It's a 136-inch track. And for this size of snowmobile, that's very, very good for deep snow. There's some things that are wrong with it, but we can only work with what we have. So new sleds, you'll typically see 144s or 155s, something along those lines, even 163-inch tracks, but they're so much heavier. This sled is not very heavy. It's also not very wide. So you're going to find that a 136-inch track is plenty sufficient. If you have a 121-inch track, and you'll notice it because you can tell by this one, the tunnel goes for quite a while. If the tunnel seems to end off, well, let's put my finger here. Let's do a comparison. All right, so if the tunnel seems to end off right about there, you probably got a 121. So this little bit right back here, that's that extra little bit of length. We're talking about performance modifications. Modifications you can make that are very cheap, that'll increase your performance. So let's start off very briefly with ones that I have already made, and I will be going deeper into them, but just so you know, I already made these performances and they do help. First off, I mentioned this in the previous video, is the seat. It depends what your riding style is like. This seat is not very comfortable. It's very stiff, it's very hard, but the seat is quite light. And when we're talking about modifying a snowmobile for performance in deep snow, we are talking about shedding weight and reducing the amount of drag we have on the snow. In this case, we could add power to the snowmobile, but it's going to be marginal unless we change the engine. So I'm not going to say I'm going to refrain from doing the power. I'm going to show you a little bit more about power, but weight is a big important one. So we're starting with the seat. The seat's got a lot of weight. If you have a stock seat on there, pull it off. You'll see how darn heavy that thing is. So if you can replace it with anything that's light is better than nothing. This one in particular is off of a Suzuki VS750. It's the passenger seat. It's the back seat. It's the small seat. And this thing is tiny. It's not very comfortable to ride. I usually only ride it when I got a really smooth trail and I'm just kind of relaxing and waiting for, I don't know, just relaxing my legs and just kind of cruising around. I rarely use this seat. If I'm sitting down, it's only for like 20 seconds at a time. The rest of the time, I'm standing up. That's why if you're doing the seat mod, it's very important that you also do a modification for the handlebar so you can actually stand up. That's what I didn't do the first time. The first time I did not do a handlebar modification. My handlebars are very low, so it was neither comfortable sitting down or standing up. Bad combination. So if I was sitting down, it was uncomfortable. If I was standing up, it was uncomfortable. It was unfun. I raised up these handlebars this much. So I can't remember what it was, but it was, I think after all said and done, it was close to 5 or 6 inches. So that made a huge difference. So I can, as you can see here, I'm hands on this handlebars. I'm standing with my legs almost straight. I wish they were a little bit higher. For me, it just, I don't know. I am very, very tall, as some people have clearly pointed out. So those handlebars will most likely be sufficient for anybody that is shorter than me. Those handlebars are not quite there, but if I bend my knees or I stagger my legs a bit, it's not too bad. And then we got other little modifications that we're going to be doing later on. But I widened the skis also in this one, which I'll mention later, and I'll get into that. Really makes a difference. I changed the angle of approach on the track. I moved it from this hole in the front end to this hole that helps my snowmobile skis lift out. I'm going to be doing some modification of that again, because after changing the ski flotation, it doesn't work the way I want it to anymore, so I'll have to do a modification. The hood did have a lot more holes in it, but my brother crashed it, so my dad patched it up, and I guess we kind of got lost in communications. There's a couple little holes here, a couple little holes there, and bigger ones over here. This hood holds in a lot of heat, so we're gonna modify the hood because it holds in a lot of heat, and we want to release the heat, and we'll get into that later. There's many different things you could do, and we'll start talking them one by one. So just giving you a heads up of what's to come. We're going to talk about doing handlebar mods on the cheap. We're talking about improving your running boards on the cheap, which I've done here, which I will still be continuing to improve on. We're doing this week at a time. So usually how I do it is I do one modification or two modifications the weekend before, ride it, see how it feels. If I don't like it, I change it up. And then I will tell you what I feel works and what I feel does not work. If you want to see what my first video is, go down to the description and there will be a link to the first video of the series. I guess this is the first video, but we'll talk about the actual first video on the series, which will be the handlebar modifications, which is the first modification you could do. It's a little bit more in depth because this one in particular requires a welder. So if you don't have a welder, I can't help you there. I can show you other ways to do it, but in this case, it was a welder because I had to cut and weld the handlebars. So other handlebars are a little bit different, but again, that's the topic for the next video. So take care, guys. Remember to subscribe because I really appreciate that. It keeps you up to date on all my current videos. And check me out on Facebook. Again, link in the description. And, well, if I have a Twitter account by now, it'll probably be in the description. If I don't worry about it. All right, take care, guys. Enjoy yourselves.